Hi, my name is Edmund, and this is Kaleidoscope, an educational podcast hosted by me and my friends, Cynthia and Alex. Our podcast is sort of a one-stop shop for everything career-related with the help of industry insiders. We present you with a broad spectrum of professions with as many perspectives through personal testimonies as the colors of a kaleidoscope. And today's a very special day for me because sitting next to me is none other than my mom, Frédérique Dufour. So, hi.
Hi.
And thank you for coming on. Would you like to give a quick introduction of yourself, what you do and what you have done sort of in the past?
I did many different things in my life, but I focused on my job as an historian. I did very long studies about history, about French history. And it was a very good way for me to discover a different kind of jobs. And for instance, I worked during 10 years in a big historical foundation in France, which name is Fondation Charles de Gaulle, which is focused on the personality and on the political job of Charles de Gaulle, who was the French president during the 60s. And then I moved to another place in France, in the eastern part of France, where I was in charge for a big and important place of remembrance in the former concentration camp, which name is Natzweiler Struthof. And I worked there during 9 years. And it was, of course, very interesting and very hard because it's a place of suffering, a place of death, but also a place for tourism and for education, for citizenship. So it was something very new for me. And while during all these years, I also wrote a lot of books about French history. And it's a big part of my job. I spend a lot of time in the archives to do some research and to find some new elements about history. Yeah. So it's a very short presentation of what I did during the last 20, 30 years.
Yep.
Incredible.
Nice. Yeah. It's quite a lot. And you have a new book coming soon, maybe. First fiction.
Yes, that's it. My first fiction book will be ready in September. And it's a fiction, of course, about history, describing small place in the mountains in Alsace, close to the concentration camp of Natzweiler, and describing how this beautiful place with a beautiful landscape is turning very, very bad due to arrival of Nazism and total transformation of the economy of the place with all the deportees coming into this beautiful place and everything changing.
Yeah, obviously it's in French, but you better read it.
Yeah,
it's a good book.
And you better translate it for me.
Okay, yeah, sure, yeah, that's what I'm gonna be spending next year on. Okay, so I think now we're gonna go on to the 10 questions, some more fun questions before going on to the real, sort of deep career-related questions. So the first one is beach or sightseeing? Fuck. So, would you rather, on vacations, would you rather go to the beach or go sightseeing?
No, I'm not I am more for sightseeing. I love mountains. I love nature. I love wild places. And on the sea, on the coast, there are a lot of people. It's not a place for me. Yeah. I love to be alone in the wildness.
Okay. Books or movies?
I like both of them. I read a lot of books. Every month I read many books. For history or fictions, I love reading, I love writing, but I also love movies. So I can't answer your question.
Favorite ice cream flavor, perhaps? Don't eat a bowl of ice cream, do you?
I don't like so
But if
much
you
ice
had to eat an ice cream.
An ice cream, maybe yogurt.
I like yogurt, yeah. Favorite country to visit?
Favorite country to visit? It's very difficult to answer. I think the world is very bright and the world is beautiful and all the countries are very interesting. Mm-hmm. So difficult to answer. I think, I love, discovering, France because it's not such a big country, but with very different, sightseeing and, monuments and so on. So, but I love Africa. I love Asia. I love all the world.
Yeah, and you were born in Africa
I
too.
was born in Africa.
Yeah. Burundi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, in Burundi. Yeah. Yes,
Right.
which is a very small country on the Tanganyika Lake. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I never told you. Because my grandparents used to work there, like when they were younger, teachers there.
In the 70s.
Yeah, because you could either go into the military at that time or become a teacher. And my grandpa was a bit of a hippie. And, so he didn't go. Yeah, just a tiny bit. Yeah. You're stranded. What's your favorite song?
Oh, I love Dire Straits and I love this song, Brothers in Arms.
Yep.
Maybe you know it.
I could have put money on it. Yeah.
Because it's, the text is very interesting. It's a comparison, between the brothers in arms fighting during the war and the history of the singer who, lost his brother, because of a drug and his brother died into his arms. And it's a parallel.
Brother in arms.
Yes, that's Brothers in Arms.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Very, very great analytical skills. Yes. And it's got a 7-minute intro with no...
Oh, with these guitars.
No
great.
voice until the 7th minute. Yeah. You're stranded on an island. What are 3 things you would take?
Oh. Maybe some, paper and some pen to write, not to get boring.
Okay.
And what else? What else? I don't know. Maybe something to drink, some water.
Okay, just a bottle of water.
Yes.
Yeah, not a water purifier, just a bottle of water.
Bottle of water,
Okay.
pen, and paper.
Okay, yeah.
I think I will die very.
Yeah, you know how that ends.
If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One food.
Yep.
Mango.
Mango.
Yes, mango.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. Your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. I love this movie of Michael Haneke. The name in French is The Ruban Blanc. I don't know the name in
Never
English.
seen that.
It's a movie about a very small village in Germany before the Nazism. And we see how hard is the education for children and how the parents and the father punish the children and they turn very, very hard, very aggressive. And it's like not the beginning of Nazism, but something is happening that prepares the arrival of this ideology.
I thought you were going to say The Matrix.
Yes, there is Matrix as well.
I would put money on that.
I think 14 times.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's a book you think everyone should read?
I love this book, of, Emily Bronte. And it's, Octave, tu l'as lu, comment c'est le titre?
Qui?
Non, les sœurs Bronte, là, le livre.
Charlotte Bronte?
Oui.
Jane Eyre?
Ah, yes, Jane Eyre. No, Jane Eyre.
You bought it for me?
Oh, yes,
it's been in my room. I haven't.
The history of
I hate
a
it.
little girl growing.
I'm reading it in English, it's not it.
Yes. So, Jane Eyre from Charlotte Bronte. It's an English book and beautiful history about a woman.
Okay. Nice. Is there a movie? Did we watch a movie together?
There is a movie about this book, Jane Eyre.
Is it the one with the piano?
No. That's That's comment s'appelle le film avec le piano, la leçon de piano.
Oh, yeah. Who are 3 people you'd have dinner with, dead or alive? Those can be like any
3 people
Yeah.
I would like to
have dinner with.
them.
Yeah. And they can, be historical figures as well.
Ah, okay, even if they are dead.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously they'd be alive for the dinner.
Of course.
Yeah.
The technicalities of this question.
Oh, that's very difficult. I think by this time I would like to have dinner with Putin to ask him what he's doing in Europe right now. It will be very interesting, I think, to speak with Putin.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. So it won't be a very nice moment, but I think it will be a very...
Yeah, I don't think you get along very well with him.
So Putin, the first one. And maybe someone like Erasm, who was this philosopher, this humanist during the Renaissance.
Okay.
Comment dire Renaissance?
Renaissance.
The second one and the third one, with Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah, I was about to say, where was Charles de Gaulle?
I was waiting.
It could not be any other way.
It was too obvious.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, so now we're going on to the sort of real questions. And the question I like is, how would you describe your job to a 10-year-old?
To a 10-year-old?
Yeah.
My job is to tell stories, like a mom is telling stories to his child, and my job is to tell the true history. It's exactly the same, because to tell this history, you have to, you need some ideas, you need some facts, you need some archives, you need some biographies. There are some important people. You have to tell the history of these people, and to tell the history, you have to write or to express yourself about this. So it's exactly the same. And to tell the history, sometimes you can bring the people to the place where the real history took place, and that's another way to tell the history. So it's a job of transmission. You have to give something to the people, not money, not something to eat or to drink, but some knowledge. And that's what I like in this job, because it's not a one-way job. You have to listen to the people you are talking to. You have to feel if they understand what you say, if they have some question, if it's too long, if it's too short. So you have to feed the relationship with the other people, to bring them to know the history.
I think that's an incredibly interesting way to look at it. I always had a question, and I never thought I'd meet a historian in my life. And what I always was wondering about is, I went to school in different countries, and so certain events in history were recorded very, very differently, with different emphasis on different happenings. And so how do you know what is the truth? I always wondered how, like, the times that we are living in going to be recorded for our children or grandchildren or next generations to come. So
you are totally right, and the question is in the heart of our job, because I think there is not a truth with a big T. It doesn't exist, because the history is still always going to be righted. It's never finished. We look backward to the past, and the way we are looking backward is changing. We don't look backward, for example, the Renaissance right now, as we saw Renaissance in the beginning of the 20th century, because we have new archives, but we also have new way of thinking. We have a new way of analyze the facts. So it means that if we write a book about, for example, Second World War now, it won't be the same history than Second World War in the 50s. It's totally different. And it's a big it's all the interest of history, because it's always going to change, but it's also a problem because it's a possibility for people who love some fake news and some bad interpretation to say, no, that's not history. History was totally in a different way. And then they tell some bad facts or not the truth, because there is not. It's not like mathematics or biology. There is not a truth. So everybody can bring his point of view, but we as historians, we bring our point of view in a scientific way. So we need to prove what we are saying with archives, with testimonies, and all the fact news or the thing we can read about, for example, negationism. People who say that there was no Holocaust, they don't bring proofs. They just say their opinion, which is very different. And it's today a big problem for us historians.
Yeah, I think it's a problem that increased with the arrival of new technologies
yes,
as well.
Of course, because right now with this new technology, everybody thinks or everybody is able to give his opinion, and everybody thinks that his opinion is a scientific thing and is has got the same value than the job or the work of an historian, for example. And it's the same for climate, it's the same for everything.
Yeah, makes sense.
Interesting. And I mean, like, it should make a big sense for you in your life to do this job. And I had a question is, like, you told us that you have done very long study about French histories. When you started these studies, what were your thoughts? Like, you really expected to become an historian, or it like came in your mind after?
Yes, it's very strange because I never thought I would become an historian. But there was some signs. For example, my dad was a history teacher, so it's something important for me. But I started to study in Grande École in France, which name is Sciences Po, and it's not dedicated to history or to study history or to become an historian. And I studied political, economical, geopolitical, and so on. And I studied as well history there. And I discovered that I'd like to become an historian during my study, because I studied as well history in Sciences Po. And then I decided to write a doctorate thesis. Doctorate thesis. And then it was like something automatical. If you write a thesis, then you become a history teacher. Okay. So it was like this. By walking, I discovered that I am going to be an historian. And but I was not a classical historian because I didn't want to teach in a university, and I took another way to make history with this as I entered into this foundation as a researcher, and it was a different way.
Yeah. And so what did you think you were going to do as a kid?
As I was 6 years old, I told to the pediatrician,
like the child doctor.
Yeah, I told him.
Pediatrician.
Yes, right? I told him I wanted to become a writer. I was 6 years old, and my mom remembers this sentence. I want to become a writer. So I think I realized, or I achieved my
life purpose.
Yes, my life purpose or my child's purpose.
That's beautiful.
Yes, that's great.
I wanted to be an architect, so I guess
Maybe.
yeah.
I thought being a garbage man was super cool because of the vest. I like them. So
Yeah, my little brother did too.
yeah,
He used to say hi to them every morning through the window.
cool.
So yeah, got a future with. Got this. Yeah, and so was there a decisive moment where you can pinpoint and was like, oh, that's when I realized I would be a historian?
No, I think there was not such a revelation like this, but I think I became an historian because I was scared not to be able to become a writer. Because as I told us that I wanted to become a writer as a child, for me it was fictions writer, not history books. And fiction is very difficult to invent, and I think I was not self-confident enough to write some fictions, but with history, it was possible to write books even if it was not fiction. So it was a step more to my goal, but not my definitive goal.
Is being a fiction writer still your definite goal?
Yes, but it will be next September.
Next September.
It's coming in September.
I didn't know that. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting how you're learning about your own life.
Yeah.
So, what does a day in your life look like?
In my life as an historian, it depends if I am working in the place of remembrance, and there I am like a manager, because there is a team with 30 people, and I also have to take care of security, of pedagogical aspects, or about exhibitions, or about long-term politic of exhibition, and so on. But if I am writing a book, it's totally different. So I need to wake up early to go to the archives and to spend, for example, 8 hours into the archives, looking for papers, names. For example, right now I'm writing another book about epuration. I don't know the name in English. I think there is a word to describe the way of collaborators, people who worked for the Nazis during the war. They were judged after the war. And in France, there is a word to describe this time, which is épuration. It's like cleaning. We clean the society.
Cleansing of society.
From all the people who were perpetrators or friends with Nazis. And for that, I have to spend a lot of time in archives to look for the names of these people, to find if there was some trials against them or not, what was their life before Nazism, after Nazism. So it's a huge work to do. And when I finished my research into the archives, maybe I have 10,000 or I don't know 50,000 pages of archives on my computer with names, with facts, with places, with testimonies, with letters. And then I have to write a book. So it means I have to organize my my book, all the plan of the book. What I have to choose what I will tell to the people. I told you I have to tell a story, so I cannot tell so much things. So I have to make a selection and to organize my fact.
Yeah. But okay. So, but yeah, you told you have to organize, and what can be your advice? Like, can be for students or for people like you who want to work a lot and have a great, large things to do and to deal with? What can be your advice to improve the organization?
I'm going to be writing this
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Edmund signals.
My advice for the organization, I don't know. I think it's something happening in your spirit, you know, in your head. I think it belongs to. I'm sorry, but it belongs to my personality to be very organized for these intellectual things, you know. And I think maybe I'm always doing some list. And I think doing some lists may be very helpful because you see on a paper all what you need to do. And then I always, I tick.
Yeah.
I tick all what I did, and it works for a day work, but it works also for writing a book or searching archives. I know I already saw these archives. I already saw that. And after that, everything becomes more clear and more flat. And then I have a way to go on.
Yeah. I'd like to have your spirit. Edmund's spirit is a GPS that's constantly rerouting.
Yep,
yes, but I think we need different kind of spirits on this world.
Sure.
And they bring, I think they bring something else. And maybe I am too organized, and maybe it doesn't let me see other things because I am much more too focused on something. And sometimes it's interesting to see on the side what is happening.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Aiming to that. Yeah.
So continue to go on the see on the side.
What was I going to say? Yeah. So you were talking about the sort of society cleansing, if we call it that. It's probably not the right term, but so that in France, all the people that collaborated with the Nazis. Is this still a taboo in France? Do we talk about that a lot or not really?
It was a taboo during a long time. I think now the time is changing. Some new generations are growing and interesting for this period. So I think it's a time now to speak about it. And I think it's the same in all the European countries. It's a time to open the window and to see what was this very, very difficult past.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that's interesting about history as well, right? Is that it just, you learn so much from, you know, when that generation dies off, then suddenly it becomes not a taboo anymore, right? And we've seen that throughout history so much with archives being released, right? With the JFK assassination, right? Papers came out not too long ago. So it's really interesting how, you know, it's just, there's a huge delay because of, you know, like the people that need to be protected sort of, right?
They need to be protected.
Yeah.
It's important because archives contains a lot of secrets about people, about their private life, about their relationship with justice. So it's important to not to open the archives too early, but it's important to open them.
Yeah.
And for example, in France, it was very difficult to make the archives about Algerian war open. Or about Rwanda, where the French army was involved during this genocide. And we see right now in Europa, some countries who are closing back their archives or telling the historian how to write the history. And that's a big problem. That's a big issue. And we see it, of course, in Russia. And we see it in another level in Poland as well, where there was 2 years ago a new rule for the historians. And if they, for example, just tell that some Polish people took part to the genocide of Jewish people, they could be punished. So it's a very big problem because historians have to be free to research and to tell the truth.
Yeah.
But what they close the archive right now?
They didn't close the archives, but sometimes it's difficult to go to the archive and to obtain some documents if they don't go in the way of the government. So and in France it was a case about Algerian war. And recently, the French President of la République decided to get more archives about this time to the historian.
And do you need any special authorization to go to the archives, or can anyone go there?
No, everybody can go there because it belongs to the democracy. It belongs to citizen.
Mm-hmm.
It's a history of everybody living in a country. So you just need to an identity card, for example, and that's it. And it's free. And it's there are people to help you inside the archives because it's not that easy to find where you have to look for. And there are a lot of register, a lot of books with numbers, and you need some help to find your way in this huge past.
Yeah.
As a historian, do you agree with the saying that history repeats itself?
I don't agree with this sentence because I am sure that history doesn't repeat itself for example, like in a mirror, it cannot be exactly the same. And I think this sentence is a little bit dangerous because people, if they understand this sentence very concretely, they will think, oh no, but Hitler is dead. There is no another Hitler. There is no more Nazi party. So it cannot happen again. But it can repeat in another way. It can look like, it can be a little bit different, but with the same ideology behind.
Yeah, there's this other saying which I like better personally. It's history doesn't repeat itself, however, it does rhyme.
Does rhyme. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I think it's like that exactly because we see this always the same roots, the same roots from, for example, racism in the 19th century to Nazism. And today we find the same line in extreme right in France, but also in other countries, against Jewish people, against Arabs, against a lot of people. And it's always the same roots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, but with new way of speaking, new way of making advertising about it with social media and yes.
Sorry to moving on, but I have a question came on my mind, how the archive are formed, I speak about the core content, like the book, the letter, how it works, the state bring it or?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the state brings the archives, for example, all the papers, letters, in a ministry, in the government, have to be given to the national archives when the government is finished or when it's a new government coming. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that some important people with a historical role will give, or family will give their archives to archive center after their death. That's the second way. And the people working in archives are also going to look for documents, letters, new documents. Yes. So that's a way to, and it's always growing, of course. Yes. It's growing. And the problem is there is a big problem right now. People send emails and send a snapshot and write something on Instagram, but they don't write anymore letters anymore. And
I think that's an actual problem.
I think it will be a big problem for the next historian, because they won't have any material anymore, because who will keep his email? Who will give the email of his dad after his death to an archive? It's not possible. And all the SMS, all the textos, it will disappear.
It doesn't disappear though. That, like, if anything, it's always going to be there on the internet. You know, unlike a paper which can be burnt or can be lost. What you put on the internet, if you put an Instagram post on the internet, historians of the future will be able to find it again.
I'm not sure. Because on internet, for example, your emails, you destroyed your email. There is no huge big data keeping all the emails of all people around the world. Yes, you think so?
No, but and I mean, like, for example, like during the war, like people were sending like letters to his wife, or I don't know, and now you just call your father.
Exactly.
So the call like stay in the cloud, or I don't know, but nobody will just
I don't
find
think
out.
they are being recorded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, that's my.
But I mean, even if it's recorded, you don't have it, so you won't send it. So the archive.
And on the other hand, we have so many more, like recordings, right?
Yes, of
like
course.
Anything, historical worthy is going to be recorded by 10 different people with their phone at any point,
Yes, it's something different. But you know what? In the letters, people, for example, in the 19th century, they wrote very long letters with very personal feelings, or they gave their opinion about weather, about politics, about their village, and it was very rich. But in an email or in Instagram, you don't write so much things.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess it's just going to be a big
different.
change. It's just going to be the work of a historian for like our period is going to be completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
But I think the next historian will find a good way to.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it could also be richer with all of the multimedia, so like photos and everything else.
Yeah,
which could add an interesting aspect.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure. And
other than organization, which you said that you're really organized, what are other characteristics that you see in other historians or somebody that, would make a good historian?
Yes, I think you have to stay very modest, because the thing you are finding or writing can be
countered.
Yes, can be countered or changed by another historian. So you have to be modest, and you have to work in cooperation with other historians. It's a alone work, because in archives or by writing you are alone, but we belong to a community, the historian community. And it's very important to speak with other historians, to make some conferences with them, to compare, or to find new ideas. And, that's very important.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was thinking before, because we're talking about how history, I'm just sort of going back, but how history was being used by, countries such as Russia and Poland, and sort of changing it in a way. What do you think are the ways to not have that, right? To not have history be used as a weapon? How can historians fight against that?
Yes, it's very difficult. And history is, it's always not a weapon, but always an instrument for power. It's connected with power. In France as well, in all the countries. And the only solution against it, I think, it's to preserve the democracy, and to avoid voting for people who think they can write the history better than the historian. That's the first thing. And the other thing is to maintain the freedom of thinking in our countries, and letting the people express themselves. And especially the historians who can sometimes warn the power or make some articles in the newspaper to say that they don't agree with such interpretation of such access to archives. So it's important to have this historian community strong and not against the power, but to be very careful about what is decided by the power concerning history and archives.
Do you think there is currently enough education on the importance of discovering history and the truth? Because what I was thinking about is, even if you live under a political regime that allows these archives and you do have that freedom, I don't know if people anymore have that aspiration of digging in the past and really understanding it. And I wonder, what do you think about, like, currently just the general population's historical education?
Yes, I think the education to archives does exist. Also, I speak about France because I know better this case. So it exists. For example, all children study history at school, and they often go with a teacher to archives to discover real documents. But I think it's not enough. And I am very surprised when I speak about my job to people. They just don't know that they are able to go to archives. They don't know it. They think it's closed, or it's for something like a small group of people with a special authorization. So they just don't know. And they don't know what is inside the building of archives. And I find it a little bit sad because it belongs to their past, to their family. But I don't know how to improve this. It's not that easy. People have already a lot of things to do in their life, and that maybe they just don't have time or no interest to go to archives. But I think it will be very very interesting for them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But that's also like your role as a historian, right? Is to make those, I mean, you were talking about 50,000 pages of archives. I'm not going to go through that. I'm interested in history. I really am. I'd say I'm more interested than the majority of people my age, but it's just not possible. And I think you're responsible for being the channel that, like, sort of condenses all of that and makes us, like, accessible to, like, us.
Yes, that's right.
The normal people.
Right. I have maybe a question about, like, when people are learning and teaching history at the school, I felt like when I was in school, like, they are not very frank, and they try to use words that, like, won't frighten you. And my question is, do you think it's important to be frank and to tell the truth, even if it's horrible, even if it's afraid?
Okay, I think it's very important to tell the truth with the right words. But sometimes the history is very, very hard. For example, I used to work in a former concentration camp where people were killed in horrible ways. There was a crematorium, there was a gas chamber, and as children arrived to visit this place, I always advised the parents not to bring them to the crematorium or to the gas chamber because I think they are too young, but to tell them the truth about all the rest, about the prison, about the not enough food for the deportees and so on. So it's important to tell the truth, but sometimes not all the truth, and waiting the right age to tell everything. But if you tell something, it must be right. And in history, the words are very important, and it's important to say the right word.
Did it affect you emotionally when you saw those things?
Of course, because I'm a human like you, and it's very difficult because especially because I know the survivors and I spoke with them, and I know what they
went through
in this place. And of course I felt sometimes very sad, and it was always hard for me to, for example, to guide the people in the place. But in the same times, I have to keep this emotion away, because otherwise I cannot tell the history, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a strange thing to feel something, but to be able to maintain it outside of you, and to observe as well the emotion of people you are talking to. And sometimes some people they were crying, or they didn't want to enter into a building because it was too hard for them, which I can perfectly understand, which is totally normal. And sometimes I felt anger as well, because it was not that often, but I used to meet people inside the former concentration camp who were neo-Nazis, you know, people in admiration for Hitler. And that was, it was very hard. I think it was.
What did you do then?
I spoke with them, and I asked them to go out. Because
and you
it
called
was.
the police for that?
I could, of course, I did. The last time it happened to me, I called the police, because these people, they wanted to show everybody that they love Nazism. They had some, for example, a T-shirt with a Waffen-SS soldier inside a concentration camp, where these SS people killed thousands of people. So it's not possible. It's like a huge provocation, and yes, I had to fight against them.
And I have a question about, because you were talking about the old deportees. And so now, if I remember correctly, there's 7 French deportees left, right?
Yes.
Around that. How do you think your job or your role as a historian changes when there are no more people that went through those events, right? It's going to be the case of World War II in, in a couple years.
Oh, yes.
You know?
Yes, that's a big issue. And I think the role of historian will get more important than ever, because as these people were still alive, they brought their testimonies to a newspaper, to television, to children in the school. It was incredible. And when there will be no more survivor, the only way to transmit this history will be through the historians, but also through their testimonies in videos, in movies, and so on. And with fiction as well. Fiction is a very useful thing to bring this knowledge to children.
Yeah. And what about you personally? How? Because I mean, a big part of your job is, at least when you were working at the Struthof, was to interact with the old deportees there, you know, and how are you going to feel that change, you know, because you're close to a lot of them.
Yeah.
How is it going to be working on those topics without having, first-hand sources?
I think I met these people. So for me, I am a witness of witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will be very different for people like you, younger people who never meet a deportee or survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I bring their testimony with me. It's inside me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's inside me, and I feel I am like their representative or their ambassador, and it will last all my life, even when these people will be dead. Sorry, but it's a strange feeling, because every time I met them, I think it's the last time I met them, because they are so old.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a strange thing.
Yeah, it's sad too.
Yeah.
But that must be incredibly rewarding to know that what you're doing is meaningful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
what are the things that you find most rewarding about your job?
Most reporting?
Rewarding.
Ça veut dire quoi?
Quels sont les aspects de ton travail qui t'apportent, qui sont le plus récompensants?
Ah oui, le plus récompensant.
Ouais.
Okay, the most rewarding thing about my job is what we are doing today, you know? It's meeting people and speaking about my job because I have already told you it's a alone job. So we feel always and often alone, and our reward is to share our knowledge with pupils, with other historians, with young people like you, and it's like si j'ai moi en allemand qui vienne, un cadeau, je vais dire.
It's a gift.
It's a gift, c'est bien anglais, d'accord. It's like a gift because we can I can see that it's useful, that it brings something to other people, and the relationship is a big gift. The relationship with other people.
Yeah. So what are the parts, the opposite of that question? What are the parts of your job that aren't so rewarding and are more, hard? The parts of your job maybe you don't like so much?
No, I think there are no aspects I
being a
don't.
historian that you don't like?
No, I think I like everything.
That's great to hear.
That's a life goal.
Yeah.
when you find a career that is just that satisfying.
Yeah, I think it's great. I feel good.
Yeah. And so, are there misconceptions maybe about your job? Things that, the public thinks about what a historian is that just isn't true, and that you'd like to say, hey, look, it's not how it works, something like that.
Yes, maybe some journalists. I work a lot with journalists for radio or television, and they always ask questions about the prison, and about political. But we are not. Our skill is not to comment what happens right now, but to study the past. It's a little. There is a small misconception sometimes between a journalist and historian. Also, it's often very good to ask historian about prison because there are connections between past and present. But we have to stay in our place, not to make some political.
Yeah. And earlier, I don't know why I'm coming back to this now, but I wanted to ask about it earlier. You were talking about some of the historian community and how you have interactions with them. How is it interacting with other historians? Because I can imagine that you have certain different points of views on particular issues. Are there ever tensions with other historians, or is it a friendly sort of community where everybody's friends?
I think it's a friendly community, but there are also some small war between historians who don't have the same point of view, of course. But I think we all know that our common interest is to stay together. And to progress, to go on together. So it's not, and I think I speak for myself, but I think we have some pleasure to speak with other historians and to share some very specialized details about very specialized times, which nobody else knows, and it's something like a pleasure.
Yeah, and because there's so many things that you find out about that are just, so small that, it doesn't matter in the big picture, but there's so many interesting pieces of knowledge that I don't know why this example comes to mind, but I remember when you were studying the archives for the concentration camp, the Nazis used to have extensive administration things. So there's so many things you find out about. Like the fact that the Nazi officers ordered a beer machine, things like that, right? And so it's so many literally little funny, I don't know if I can say funny, but little details that just come there.
Mm.
So that's pretty cool.
But I think those are the details that make that story, in a sense, come alive to you, and that's a huge difference than what we would read and what we call these days research, which is really not research, just searching on Google. That when you're just reading in a very factual way, and that story aspect, the soul of it that you're talking about, is left out. Very often it doesn't stay in my mind. The only thing I remember from my history classes is that I had to remember places, dates, and names.
Yeah, that's a pity, because history is something else. And for example, I'm very bad historian because I never know the date, for example. I always forget the dates, but it's not a problem. History is a connection between people and building an event, building a reaction, collective reaction. It's not this day or this day, And it's a pity to teach a story like that.
Yeah. Yeah. My best history teachers were the ones that would tell a story, and I've got amazing memories from like teachers like that in class that would just speak and make the story come to life. And that's what, gave me interest in history as well, were teachers like that.
Yeah, because just learn dates doesn't make you understand the real
absolutely
life
not.
history.
Of course not.
Absolutely not.
Of course not. Was there ever a time when you wanted to change careers? Sorry? Was there ever a time when you wanted to change careers?
No, I think I was happy in this career and never wanted to change. And I think I won't.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from your time being a historian?
Yes. Not a good memory, but something who shocked me. As I was in the military archives in Paris, and I was looking for a document about an officer. It was before the First World War, and it was an officer in the colonial army of France.
Was it petit guy?
Ouais, mais c'était pas sur lui. And he was discovering a country in Africa, in Central Africa. And I knew from other archives that this guy had killed some black people and had tortured them. And I wanted to find his official military document. And I found it in the military archives, but the page describing this time in Central Africa had disappeared. And it was like...
No way.
That it was ripped out because this guy, this officer, after the First World War, became a general of the French army, and someone made disappeared the.
Which general was it?
The name was Joannard.
Okay.
It was Captain Joannard in Africa, and then after the First World War, General Joannard.
That's
and
crazy.
Everything disappeared, and that's something very shocking.
Yeah.
Very, very
That is shocking.
But I would have felt so frustrated.
Yes, I was.
Is that something that is known now? Do we know this guy's very bad person?
it was, for me, it was more than 20 years ago, and I never forgot this moment in archives. And sometimes I think I have to write a biography of this Joanna just to make people know what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an idea.
Yeah.
That's a project that are going on.
Yeah. You can have an infinity of projects with your job.
Yes.
It's never over.
It's never over.
Yeah.
Never.
Would you ever be interested in looking or like studying or writing a book about a different part of history? Because you're sort of a World War II professional. You wrote a book about De Gaulle in World War I. But would you ever do something on a different region, different time period?
It's very difficult because all historians are very, very specialized on not only on a period, for example, for me, First and Second World War, but also on topics. For example, there are historians about Second World War specialized on economical aspects, and other one on gender aspects or international relation. So it's very difficult to go back to Middle Age.
Yeah.
But I don't know so much about Middle Age or about antiquity, and I think I will be very limited with studying this period.
Yeah, because obviously there's a lot less knowledge, and it's just a completely different job, right?
So of course, I've got a general point of view on this period, but not not enough to write a book or to.
And you wouldn't be interested in it either,
No,
right?
I think I won't.
Yeah.
How did you find your interest in this period?
It's total hazard.
It's a complete,
So
no. No, hazard is something dangerous.
Yeah.
It's,
Like
it
random?
was, yeah, it was
Coincidence?
random.
It's random.
Yeah, it was a
It's
complete
total-
coincidence.
It's a complete coincidence because I write my historical thesis about First World War and about French army in Africa, and then I had the opportunity to have the job in the Charles de Gaulle Foundation, but I have to recognize that I didn't know a lot about Charles de Gaulle at this time, so I learned about him, and I became an historian specialized on Charles de Gaulle. And Charles de Gaulle had this very important role in France during the Second World War, and by this way, I became also specialized in Second World War. And it's it's by walking, you know.
yeah.
And you have always to stay open to the opportunities and to get them.
Yeah. What's the hardest part of your job?
The hardest part of my job,
Yeah.
it's to find time. I think my problem, my biggest problem is to find time to research, time to write. The problem is to watch the time going away and not to work enough, and that's my problem.
Yeah, I heard something about that today. And, like on my way here, it was like I wish Father Time had the patience of Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it's in a rap song that I listened to the way here. But I thought, yeah, I don't know if it applies to this completely. But yeah, time does go fast, is what I'm trying to say.
Where do you see yourself in the future?
In the future, I see myself with other books around me and the new. So I see myself in France because I live in France. So I think I will stay in my country because I work about the history of my country as well. And maybe I will be history teacher, or I will be a counselor for political of remembrance or something like this.
Do you see yourself going back to being a history teacher?
I don't think so, but why not? Why not?
Because I mean, you didn't like it back in the day.
It depends. I liked it, and sometimes it was very difficult. But
Yeah.
I think right now I'm older, and I think it's a big advantage to teach, because now, as a mother of 3 children, I know what a teenager is, and I know how to speak to them, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So I mean, like, be a teacher should like save a lot of your time right now.
But what was I going to say? What years would you teach? You know, would you be high school teacher or would you go to university?
Not to university, but high school, yes.
Why wouldn't you want to be a lecturer?
Yeah, why not to university?
Because I didn't choose this way, and now it's a little bit too late. I didn't make the exams and all the habilitations to get to the university teaching.
Really?
But if you
Is
have
it-
a PhD, then aren't you?
Yes, but
automatically-
I should have done, in French, it's an habilitation à diriger les recherches, but it's a special exam when you have your thesis. Then you have to make this new exam. It's not like exam, but this new diploma, and to get, to be able to teach in university.
Really? But that's, I feel like you're more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Qualified?
Yeah, more qualified than most, history teachers in
No,
university.
I think they are, but I didn't choose this, this way. This path, yes, exactly.
Crazy. Yeah. Do you guys have any more questions?
No, here's the last one.
Okay, so this is the last question that we ask everyone that comes up to the podcast. It's, what piece of advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Un enfant de 20 ans?
No, yourself,
I
when
guess-
you were 20.
Quand
Say
j'avais
you
20
go,
ans?
yeah, you go back in time.
Ah,
You're
okay.
20 and you're like, hey,
Okay.
do this or don't do that, or just an advice.
I always told me to dare.
Mm.
Dare. Because sometimes I was scared to speak in front of people or to ask questions. And I told me, dare. You have to dare and to be strong and not to be scared by people or by they are thinking about you. Don't be ashamed and go.
I like that a lot. I like that. It's very positive.
Mhm.
So, yeah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
for
here
your
today.
question. Thank you very
thank
much.
you. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.